This week on Cantina Chronicles, Adam and Ben discuss Charles Soule's Legacy of Vader comics, issues 1 through 5, but not before discussing the potential for a second season of Obi-Wan Kenobi and the final expansion for massive Star Wars Outlaws video game. Let's go! Welcome to Cantina Chronicles. For those of you that are meeting us for the first time at this cantina in the Outer Rim, we are a weekly cantina crawl across the Star Wars galaxy where we have delightful discourse about all things Star Wars, including news, notes, and theory, synthesizing all media. We contextualize your get-in. We are your landing pad for all things Star Wars. Grab a seat and let's chop it up. Today, it's just Adam and I. Adam, how are you doing?
Good. Yeah. Happy to talk about it. Can't wait to talk comics. It's always my favorite thing to talk about. How you doing?
Awesome. And not just. We all love Star Wars. We miss Grant. He can't make it tonight, unfortunately, and it's too bad because he loves him some Charles Soule.
Yeah.
He loves him some Vader, and we're going to be covering Legacy of Vader, which centers around Kylo Ren. So,
yeah,
jumping way out of the High Republic all the way to the other end of the timeline, right after Crate is where
I was gonna say 2 weeks in a row of Charles Soule. Can't do much better than that.
Yeah, I was like, we can't let him go. And it is fantastic. So we're going to cover episodes 1 through 5. Wanted to get into a little bit of news. There hasn't been a ton lately.
Nope.
But a couple things have gone on. One juicy segment, and it comes from a influencer, a quote unquote Hollywood insider. Sure. I think he's batting about 200 on his predictions. So take this with a crate-sized grain of salt. But Daniel RPK reports that they're in the works. There's some movement around an Obi-Wan Kenobi season 2.
Yeah.
What do you think?
It's interesting. I'm going to kind of go like 500 foot, whatever view of this, 5,000 foot view of this for a second, because the rumors seem to be suggesting that something is. Yeah. What's that? Yeah. There you go. Love it. Something's going into production post Ahsoka season 2, right? In terms of the TV land. So I don't know how, I don't know where he got to this, but it makes sense. It makes sense if they're kind of playing things somewhat safe, right? Like, you cannot go wrong with the second season of Obi-Wan. Like, everyone loves Ewan. Like, there may have been some grumblings about season 1 of Obi-Wan, but I feel like probably if you look into the meta-analysis data of all the stuff, that it is probably one of the more watched of the series.
Yeah, it's a good, solid gapper single.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of my casual friends were just like, I don't get it. Which I'm, bummed about, but I of course loved it because I love Obi-Wan, and I thought, it was that. I think the headline for our review of that series was just like, I didn't know I needed this, but now I don't know how I could live without entry into the timeline, in the story for Obi-Wan. So, So you were saying were you saying, because I thought we were believing that there was going to be no more live action TV happening after.
I never thought there was gonna be no more. Because that you just need to. I thought they were gonna ratchet it down a ton. Yeah. Just ratchet it back, because it's the ratio is way off with too many series and not enough movies. And I think the way Bob Iger and others are looking at Disney Plus now is that this is a lost leader to feed people into movie theaters where they make all of the money, right? And if you're doing 3 series a year, that's too much money to get people in the theater. But if you're doing 1 a year, that just keep people's interest and allows you then to do a movie every 2 or 3 years instead of having to do a movie every year, it makes sense, right? It's a smaller budget. So I never thought it was going to go fully away. It's hard to say that when you have something like Andor getting all of the praise and all of the eyes on televisions to be we're not doing it anymore at all. So
I'm there's a I think my naivety is my superpower, in that I can sort of go into a show blind and just love it. And but I kind of wish that money didn't run Star Wars, but I'm really sort of appreciate it's just like the way the wind blows. It's sort of just like suddenly Andor has this. I mean, people finally discover how amazing Andor is, and they actually put their full weight of the Disney like marketing machine behind it, I think, and everyone realized what a fantastic show it is. And Tony Gilroy's been taking his victory lap for like 6 months now,
like still going on.
And all the people, and it's a big love fest for Star Wars live action TV. And it just seems like they're like, we need to line something else up. I mean, we've got all these films lined up. I mean, there's 6 in the hopper right now that are like,
at least, they're like an active production. Right. The trilogy, Charmine's Rey movie, and then Mangold's Dawn of the Jedi, allegedly. Those were all kind of on the front burner. So it's like, if we could get into a scenario where we get a live action series and a feature film every year, I think that's a pretty happy place. That's a good place. That's a really, really good place. And I feel like the other thing that's going on is the Mandoverse was influencing every single thing that was happening in Star Wars television for a lot of years. And I love Mandalorian.
That movie, right?
But it was like Mandalorian season 2, Book of Boba Fett. Like it just kept feeding off of that, and that created that own little world. And now that it's going off into the movies, it's that weird thing of like, well, we can't bring it back to TV because we don't want to ruin what's going on in the movies. And there's this giant black hole of like what the content is going to be on Disney Plus. Like if you take away all the Mando stuff, and I'm okay with that because I kind of, again, I'm just that weird kid who wants the oddities. Like I always just love the weirdness. And so like I love Mando, but it is so, I don't know what I'm saying. It's so mainstream great in a way. And I don't want to take that away. I don't mean that as a put down. It is a really good, solid show when it came out. Like it's perfect for what it is. But I'm like, give me the weird stuff. Like that's kind of why I still come back to the Acolyte, which is like this like beautiful corpse is kind of a term you see in screenwriting. It's such a weird thing to say, but it's just like stitched together. And I just love how odd that show is for all its like weirdness. And I'm like, same with Obi-Wan. Like I love that first season because it's Ewan McGregor, which you can't go wrong with. And then you get like the most vicious Vader I've seen in like a lot of years that people forget about. Like that scene when he's walking down the street and he just like snaps a kid's neck is like brutal. And I'm like, I don't know. I like the weirdness.
A lot of the weirdness. Great other actors. You get Hayden in that. You get, O'Shea Jackson Jr. Will reprise his role probably. You get the whole Path storyline, which is fascinating to me. There's a lot of fertile ground there. It would be fun. I think the problem was sort of like it felt like 2 out of every 3 things was a Filoni Favreau joint, and it was just like they're great, they're doing a great job, but like we need to do some other things. And I think probably Filoni was probably feeling that way too. He's like,
it's overwhelming
to take a step back. He's like, it's probably a full-time job, him just consulting with other people. And so they're like, all right, that is your full-time job now. And then, you make this feature film, and then we'll, and you're going to make Ahsoka season 2, which is like, can you imagine that plate right now? Holy cow.
Yeah.
And then, it's like, then there's light at the end of the tunnel for you. I just want to get some fresh voices in there. There's other good storytellers that exist that love Star Wars. This is our weekly, you can fill in your bingo slot for Rick Famuyiwa was the plea for Rick Famuyiwa to do it 100% in Star Wars.
His fate in the Disney Plus universe is the thing that depresses me the most, because he got peeled away from Star Wars because he was going to adapt. And see, I'm just talking off the cuff because I wasn't expecting his name to come up, so I'm not going to get this right. But you
should expect it to come up because
I know always I should have it there. But there's a great book, a series of books. I'll look it up at some point. The thing is, we usually have 3 people on. I can like Google stuff while we're talking, or someone else talking. But there was this great series of this African set high fantasy book series that was really, really good that he was going to adapt for Disney Plus, and I think it just went away. And so I think he lost like 3 years working on that thing, and it just disappeared. I mean, I was really excited when that was going to come into fruition because those books are amazing. I'll get to them. I'll figure out what it is amazing in a bit, but it's a bummer, and I feel like now he's free. Like, bring him back to this, because the thing about Obi-Wan season 1, and I really, really like it, but it felt like 2 degrees away from a Filoni-verse type of show. Like I felt like it needed to be further away from that. And you bring in someone like Deborah Chow, who is amazing, but comes directly from the Mando verse world, right?
Yeah.
And her stuff's great, but it feels very close to style. And Rick Fui, I had it. I do it every time. I mean, we should put together a giant clip of me butchering this man's name.
Oh yeah, poor Rick.
Every time, and I'm like, I got it, and then it's like this brain run. The second I say it, it's like, God, I'm not gonna be able to say it. But his episodes of Mandalorian stand out as unique, right? It feels like part in a good way, and that's why I'm like, give him something to do. Be it Obi-Wan season 2, but I want season 2 Obi-Wan to feel different. Like even things like Skeleton Crew and
I'm fine with Chow going after it again.
And she's great.
She'll probably bring in, guest directors too, like, she does. And I bet she'll evolve. She's a creative, right? And I'm already seeing Andor. I feel like I saw Andor in this comic book series we're going to talk about. Like doing, people are stealing from Gilroy in a great way. And they're just, oh, you can do that. And, and so, I want to see what Deborah does next with this. I think, it'll go in good directions. Technology will advance a little bit.
I think that's a really good point. Yeah, I think because we're so far away, it's like 2 years, but we're very far away from the last Filoni show in a lot of ways. That I feel like we've kind of now gotten into this 2 tracks of there's the Filoniverse and everything else is slightly different, and people are given a little more leeway. Like The Acolyte was nothing like a Filoni show. Whatever, it had a very different feel, and even like Skeleton Crew, which takes place during that time period, I felt did a good job of having its own kind of DNA. Yeah.
I feel like we've also been selling Skeleton Crew short. We just sort of saw it. We're like, that was great, and moved on. But
it's really solid.
It was everything. I think we're talking about what we want. Yes, it was geared a little more towards kids, but I think they pulled it off flawlessly. It looked beautiful. Yes, I really, that's my major gripe with Acolyte, and actually Obi-Wan too. It just didn't. It looked a little volumey.
They were too in love with volume at that time. Yeah.
And there's something about the lighting, like Andor's actually it's depth of field. I think like I feel the cinematography in Andor. It's like only the character that you're looking at is barely in focus, and everything else is like out of focus, and it's blinking lights, and it's like this beautiful like abstract art, cinema frame behind people. And I just felt like everything was in focus in Acolyte, and like too much stuff was in focus. And I don't know. I'm being greedy.
We love it, but it's one of those things where like when it's so funny, it's just just thinking of like now with Jurassic World Rebirth. I don't know what the name of this next thing is. It's just like I see the new Jurassic Parks, and I'm just like, this looks fake to me. And then I go back to like 1993 Jurassic Park, and I'm like, stodgy CGI and like models, and I'm like, these dinosaurs look more real to me than they're where now. And there's something about this blending of which Andor did, right? This blending of real and CGI that just works. And when you go back, I still think of like going back to season 1 of the Mando, and I was so blown away. I mean, you can listen to it. We've been around this long. Our podcast's been around so long. You can go back to our instantaneous reactions to season 1 of Mando, which is Mandalorian, which is amazing. But you just get greedy after a while, and you look at it like, yeah, this looks great, but like I felt like it didn't evolve for a long time, and I feel like now with Andor we've gotten there, and I think Skeleton Crew is one of the best evolutions of figuring out when to use the volume, how to use the volume, but also how to use practical sets. Like it will look beautiful.
Travel, the acting. I mean, all the story with like the mystery. It was self-contained. It didn't make you scratch your head about the evolution of certain characters. It surprised you every week. As much as we were like, okay, we know where this is going to go, and then it was like, actually, did something else. And
it was a very nice, straightforward, self-contained story. Like we always tried to get ahead of it and blow it out into grander things, and it was a very straight ahead story, which is wonderful.
Really great. That actually kind of leads me in, like, so I'm hoping we give that show its love over time. I think that show's going to age really, really well.
I think so.
But it's funny. So we're like this carrying the standard, you and I, Adam, for Outlaws.
Yeah.
It still exists. They finally
does.
came out with a second and final DLC, which centers around Hondo Anaka.
Yay.
I know,
Sorry.
not my favorite character
Yeah.
at all. But I'm about halfway through the mission because they opened up as soon as they opened up the mechanic to like do the Miyagi like special thing. So they opened up a whole new mechanic. Suddenly you can be a what's it called? A smuggler. Like
Yes.
dedicated smuggler. There's a smuggling crew that you work for, and you can unlock and you can actually upgrade your ship beyond end of game in huge ways. And it's a lot of ship to ship battles, and it forces you to just, it's get in there, which I appreciate because I love the ship to ship stuff. Like I began to do when I was looking for contracts and stuff to get money or whatever, like I would always look for the star battles because they were fun.
Yeah.
And so this is all like, so I just got stuck there, and they open up a whole new map that you can leave and come back to, which I did not expect. I was like trying not to leave there.
Oh, right.
Like, it's gonna be done. Like the Lando one was very much on rails.
Yes.
And you sort of go through it, and this one's much more open world.
Yes.
There's new missions. I don't know if you like you can talk to people, and there's like suddenly new missions come out of nowhere all throughout the galaxy. And so I'm super surprised by it, and so I'm taking my time with this. I'm just like, Hondo, I'll meet you when I'll meet you, bro.
Yeah, it feels like an expansion, right? It feels like an expansion rather than a side story, which like the Lando, it's interesting that you said that, because like the Lando story I loved that little story. It was a great little self-contained. This is the exact opposite. I won't ruin anything for you, but I will just say I did not care at all about the story with Hondo, and it was fine. But all the things that it opened up around it, I really enjoyed. And I did end up like re-platinuming the game. Like I did end up adding, like getting all the trophies again for the second thing.
Absolutely.
And it added like a whole new mechanic, like you said, which I enjoyed, where I'm like, I thought I had this game mastered, and suddenly I'm like back to square one in some ways, being like, wait, how do I figure this stuff out? And the new, just like the ion stuff and riding the new, did you get to the new ship yet?
No.
Oh, okay. There's a new ship.
Yeah, I know it's going to happen because I can see there's stuff I need to unlock, but I'm like, I'm not even going there. I think that's happening next.
Probably. Yeah, you get a whole new ship, which is fun, which is a whole new mechanic and a whole different way. It's very B-wing adjacent, where you have to shift between like whether you're going to like shoot vertically or horizontally, and like whether you're going to be for speed or whether you're going to be for fighting. You have to like strategically make decisions about when to do that. It's really fun. Yeah. It's really cool.
Fun. Yeah, because I can tell it's going to happen, and I've been shooting down those ships, and I'm like, are those B-wings? And then when you get close, you're like, no, it's like a more modified B-wing sort of thing, but it's close to it. Yeah, it's a little shorter and not as wide, but very cool. Yeah, so that'll be fun to do. But I don't know, I'm enjoying it. That game's keeps giving. I did just like finish 124 hours of Assassin's Creed. So I was like a little confused on the like controls that are slightly different, and I'm like,
the same thing happened. I had finished the Indiana Jones and the Great Circle right before doing that, and it took a good 2.5 hours for me to actually like settle back in to the controls of that thing, where I kept like really messing things up for a long time. I
can't even drive my speeder. The speed, when I platinumed Outlaws, my speeder piloting was on point. Right? Yeah. I'm just like power sliding around corners and doing like, but like this, I was just like a little old grandma just going like speed limit down the path to places, because I'm like, I don't know how this works.
Back to square one. I kept like running into things and flying off my speeder again. And I'm like, yeah.
It's not easy to ride a speeder. It's not this like you get a horse, you plus X and you go forward. It's like, no, you've got to control this thing, which I think is fun.
It is.
I love this game, dude. I love Outlaws. I think so I guess Massive was like, it's really their thing more than Ubisoft. They're like a subdivision of Ubisoft. It's just such a thoughtful game. And I think they really captured the like Star Wars Galaxy Far, Far Away experience in a great way.
And yeah, agreed. And created like a pretty unique playthrough. Like I remember when it was coming out, and I was so shocked at how fast it came out that I assumed this is just going to be, they would have taken the Assassin's Creed interface and just laced it over. And they totally did. They redesigned this from the bottom up. And I appreciate that. And it was, the thing I think what happened to people is like it took me quite a few hours to like settle into the controls of the game, and there is a bit of a learning curve with it where you're just trying to figure out. But like once you get to a certain point, which is similar to Assassin's Creed, like I remember with this new Assassin's Creed, I was just kind of like dying a lot at first, and then you play for a few hours. Now I'm like, I cannot die right now. Like I just cannot die. Where I'm just like we were playing it earlier today. My wife walked in, and I'm like talking to her while I'm like taking down like Guardians. Like it's just this is so whatever. Yeah, but it's similarly like it's just it's got a bit of a learning curve, and I think people jumped off too soon. And I think once you got into it, it just makes a ton of sense, and it plays.
Yeah, and so they like allegedly changed it so that the well, you can shoot your way out of
that was the most frustrating missions. Yeah,
which is, I mean, that makes sense, I guess. But I kind of like the fact that they're like, no, you got to do this stealth and like go back to your last checkpoint and do it right.
It's the learning curve thing, right? Like I got so frustrated, and then I figured it out. And once I figured it out, I'm like, nope, I kind of like this mechanic. I like that this is something different, and it made sense to me in world. I'm like, no, if I got caught and shot my way out, I'd be toast. Everyone would know who I am, and this would be the end of my character. Yeah.
I like that there's stakes, man. Especially now, it like stealth missions are just fun. You just like rampage through a place, and you don't worry about it. You can knock people out and move around things, and it's part about I'm on the other end of the learning curve now, but but also just like you rank up and you get good, and you get your person strong, and you can sort of get through it. But like now it's like the starfighter battles are like they've created a new mechanic to give it stakes.
Yes.
And make it a little difficult, it's like, but it's risk reward. Yeah. The more you risk, the more like credits and like, upgradability to your ship. There's like a lot of upgrading you can do to your ship now.
A ton. And it also gets to it gets to the point where, so part of the mechanic is like, you can smuggle 4 different types of cargo. Mm-hmm. And each one has different, like you have to do it in an amount of time, or you can't get hit with certain ion damage, and you have to do this or that. Yeah. And to get to platinum, one of the platinums is you have to smuggle all 4 types of cargo at the maximum amount. And it is harrowing when you get to that point where it took me like 4 or 5 tries where I was like shaking in my seat as like just waiting, trying to get through everything. It is intense.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. That's the thing. I kept ranking. I'm like, I'm just going to try this. And if I lose, and I'll scale it back. And, but no, I've been fighting my way through everything. But I'm, still being relatively cautious. But yeah, I just unlocked. I sort of like started just in one silo.
Same, I did the same.
Those so I could sort of build up the other ones, and like now I'm branching out. And my last mission was, I was like, did I make it?
Right. It's like my mistake was like down to like a second or something. It was really wild when I got through it. Yeah, but it's interesting thing about that game, and now playing Assassin's Creed Shadows, is I feel like this game positively influenced my playthrough of Assassin's Creed, because I never enjoyed stealth in Assassin's Creed, which is like a big part of that game, but I would just like power my way through. And since playing that game, I've actually come to appreciate the stealth more, where actually in this playthrough of Assassin's Creed, I'm actually playing as the stealth character and enjoying myself more, like slowly going through a temple and just taking people out constantly.
Yeah.
Just, like,
she's so good. She's so really fast. Good. Such cool weapons. I mean, I feel like Valhalla was a quantum leap forward. And then I think for them, this is a quantum leap forward.
I agree. Yeah.
If for nothing else than just like, they're like, okay, like it's like they're emptying the bag. They're like, you have 2 characters, one super slow, but is so overpowered and strong.
So OP. Yeah.
People, and the other person's super fast, but you have to use all these other little sub mechanics to defeat your enemies. But it looks awesome, and
it looks good, and the map is massive. I'm still working my way through trying to get all the question marks.
That's why Ubisoft is the perfect brand, I think, to take over Star Wars games, because I just want more, and Star Wars is huge and it needs to feel huge, and no game, I mean, I haven't played 77. I heard that's pretty big, but like, but Ubisoft, like open world games, they crank them out. So that's like one thing. Just give me more games. I don't know how they crank out these, and they're massive games. So it's
I mean, I think grinding and not treating their employees very well.
I know.
I know. And by the way, we're talking about this, I think, on the day of a massive court settlement around Ubisoft, where I think 3 of them were found guilty of creating a sexually whatever workplace. So not a good day for Ubisoft. So I just want to call that out. Not good.
Their games,
not loving it.
Me really either. I mean, the video game industry is, I like hoping for the best, but my interactions personally with people that have worked in video game companies, it's gulag
awful. Yeah.
But I mean, I'm saying they're all gulag-esque, and
exactly.
Ubisoft still manages to make these giant, great games.
Yes,
and
100%.
With incredible speed. And it's like, if the masters of other, game platforms wanted to, you can only whip your employees so hard, like they can't do it. They can't get that kind of productivity out of their people. And so I just think there's some special sauce in the coding there. Or whatever.
And they're so smart with the iteration. Like, I feel like with the Assassin's Creed, they just had like 2 or 3 mechanics to every single game.
Mm-hmm.
And it's brilliant because, like, every time I walk into Assassin's Creed game, I'm like, I know what I'm doing. Like, I know the basic mechanics. It's not this steep learning curve, but they always had 1 or 2 interesting things onto it. Fun. Like, I always think back to Black Flag. And I think that was when the first time they figured it out, of just adding like really fun mechanic to a game.
That's the thing. And again, like, necessity is the mother of invention. They were just like, we're going to do a ship-to-ship fighting mechanic on galleons. And it became like the standard, and it's never really been copied until that game that came out recently. But even that, everyone's like, not as good as
Flash in the pan. Yeah.
It's like not as good as Black Flag. And I mean, I don't know, that I'll always love that game. I started it, and then I was like, I just can't.
It's so big. I know. I keep thinking about doing it. I'm like, I just don't know. There's so many other games I've played that it's hard to go back to.
Maybe I'll just have my fond memories of it.
Exactly.
But anyways, Outlaw is super great. So this is a long way of saying, when both times they've released a DLC, they've released these free costume packs.
Oh yeah. And
it's like, it's kind of a mixed bag this time. It's a weird Naboo, like, royal guard outfit that I'm not familiar with, but it's
I didn't really clock it as anything I remember. Yeah,
it's like a full Naboo, like, I don't know, royal guard sort of ensemble, and you get the colors on your ship, and you get this weird garland and color for your speeder. This garland that just drags on the ground.
Yeah, it's very strange.
It's very strange. And then there was another one that they gave away that was like Sand Survivor or like Desert Survivor. And so I think it's like a cool, like, girl outfit for like a sand person or something. Like,
kind of. Yeah, I know. It's just like they don't really go far enough with some of these sometimes. Like, they're just kind of like color palette inspired, but not really to the point where it's memorable. Yeah.
It's cool looking.
Yeah, sure.
If you're like, I'm going to be on Tatooine for a hot minute, like, I'll rock this. But they also had a couple other random things, and one was like on the side of your speeder, it's a bunch of slap balls or handballs.
Yeah.
Wait, slap ball, is that what it's called?
I think it's called. That sounds right.
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
From Skeleton Crew. And you can also put the on the end of your handlebars, you can put the tinsel, for those of you that had a bike in the 80s.
I know. I thought of that. Yeah. I may have put that one on immediately when I saw it. Like, totally. Yeah.
So I don't know. It's just kind of funny. But so anyways, there's like a little nod to Skeleton Crew in there, and I was like, oh, nice.
It's nice. I mean, it's the thing I appreciate is that, like, it was pretty clear even before the first DLC came out that Outlaws was not, like, this was the end. Like, they were not going to continue making content for Outlaws. And so there's part of us, I mean, we talked off air of like, are we ever even going to get the second DLC? Like, what's going on? But we did. And on the time frame they said, and they took care to actually, like, do more stuff, which I really appreciate. Like, all these little things. I'm like, it's nice that they even worked on this knowing this game wasn't going to, break records or continue on. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, Battlefront 2 has suddenly had this weird late rebirth, and
never know.
Maybe this game will too. And like I said, I mean, this is an expansion pack, so you know, probably the next in line of their thing is like, you can buy the full game on discount, with most DLCs. Like, that'll come out at Christmas, and
people rediscover it.
And maybe people will give it a try again. And I don't know. This is another like head scratcher where it's like, why all the hate, bro? Why all the hate?
I know. I
Like,
know.
it's great.
The internet's weird, man. I don't get it sometimes. I'm
So
like,
I had
you don't.
this theory today, and this is probably should be an after pod conversation.
No, I want to hear it. Yeah.
I think the like internet hive mind is like a 13-year-old boy.
Yes.
Like
yeah.
sort of, it's a lot of really young kids. And I think that like that's
right.
actually driving a lot more culture than we are respecting.
Yes. Yep.
And it's also driving our political discourse, and it's driving it's like
no, I think
there's
that's
a reason
true.
why you have to be 18 to vote in the United States. It's like because like you don't know the full story yet, and you have no sense of nuance, and you don't know,
and your brain's not fully formed,
and your brain's not fully formed, right? And yet, this is what's driving criticism, discourse. Like, I mean, generally, what's going on in the mono culture that is social media.
Yeah. No, I think that's a really good point, and I think you're right. I think the thing that's most interesting about that is how much we as a culture haven't realized that or thought about that.
Yeah,
which is the scary thing, right? It's just like it's this odd thing where pop culture and media and advertising and a lot of commerce is focused on young kids.
Demo. Yeah.
But the difference is now they talk back. Right. And I don't think we've realized that, like, it's such a capitalist thing to say. Is just like, they don't tell us what they need. We tell them what they want. Is kind of what we need to go back to. And I feel bad saying that as the person who does not necessarily believe in the goods of capitalism, but like maybe there's some good in there of just like, no, you don't run the world. We tell you what you want, and then you pay us the money to get what you want.
I mean, that's a famous Henry Ford line. It's just like, he's like, no, no one wanted the car. Like, if it was up to the people, they would just have like faster horses or more horses or something. He's like, no, it's like, I tell them what they want.
Yeah.
People need to be shown what they want.
Did I think the Monkees was the best band ever? No, but I saw enough of the Monkees, and I was told to buy the tape deck a number of times. I bullied my parents into buying me the Monkees, and boy, did we listen to the Monkees' greatest hits on every car ride ever. Yeah. You know what? That's because they told me I should love the Monkees. Yeah, indeed. That's an old reference for old people.
Oh my gosh, we digress. Anyways, that's my latest take on
I like it.
For like Star Wars hate. But I think they're just making such indelibly great stuff.
They really are.
We weren't, but I don't know. We're just existing in a weird space. I think they're gonna figure it out. There's very smart people at that company, and
I hope so. It's not the perfect game, but it's really, really good. And it's one of those things where I bought the like Platinum Ultra pack that was not inexpensive, but I felt like I got my money's worth. When I go back to it, I don't feel like I was robbed, so love it.
Actually, I looked at my hours played, and it's right around Shadows, which was a much, much bigger game.
Yeah, I got to be around there too. I think
I'm at 120 hours and change or something on that.
Yeah, I never look at those numbers. Those numbers depress me. I never look at them. I probably should. I looked at the Red Dead Redemption 2 once, and that was just like, I mean, that was a pandemic game, and I'm like, whoa.
I think Xbox would show you that more often, but I've been able to find the like random in between thing that shows you. It's
there. Yeah,
and they're like, one. It's deep in the like select menu or something, and I've just been taking a peek. And like Battlefront 2, I think was at like 1,750 hours.
That's wild.
And I was like, because I had never seen that number before, and I was like, that's a lot of time,
right?
Any hoozle, video games are fun, and Star Wars video games are fun, and I couldn't tell you what the next one is that's going to come out, but
I think it's the Zero Company.
Really? It's not going to be Eclipse?
No, Eclipse is like, there's no ETA on that. That's like 2026 at least. I think the Zero Company is end of year. Oh,
this year.
Yeah, I think that one is. That's our like the real time strategy game. Yeah.
The thing that's prevented me from pulling my hair out of, I guess, my beard. It's my only hair left. Is that they finally done what they should have done at the start, the EA contract, which is like they have multiple irons in the fire.
Yep, that's all I want.
Like whichever one hits, and they're like, great. Then now we'll plan our marketing. Now your release time is there, and your release time is there, and and that like they should have been doing that the whole time, and just like have multiple. Yeah.
So I think we did this a couple weeks back, but I think there's like 5 games in active development right now, which is great. I'm like, perfect, love it. Like they don't. That's the other thing too, is I feel like it takes the weight off of it needing to be a Jedi Survivor. Like if you have that many coming out, they don't all need to be like AAA platinum games. You could have a couple AA games in there. Yeah,
exactly. And Jedi Survivor, whatever, Fallen Order 3 is one of those games.
Yep.
And that that's going to be
amazing. Yeah, that's the one I'm looking forward to. Weirdly, for like the narrative. Like I don't even care about the gameplay. Like I do, and I like that gameplay of that game, but I'm like more fascinated. Like, what's the end of the story? I want to know. Yeah.
This is like, so I'm a subreddit jockey. I mean, a Reddit jockey, and like one of my subs is Jedi Survivor lightsaber, and it's just people posting their lightsaber designs. And I'll tell you, man, there's like 10 posts a day. It's just always someone else is just like, check that. Like they're playing that game and their design, like you can't help it. Like you get into the design function, you can customize your lightsabers to be like nearly anything. You can customize the wear, and so there's literally infinite combinations.
Right, the color combination is amazing. I so appreciate you and other people that do that, and I am the exact opposite of just like give me the base model, but I enjoy seeing what other people make. So like I look at similarly, I look at all those videos and stuff. I'm like, I love this. It's just not in me. I'm like, I just can't, because I'm also so neurotic that if I start doing that, I just will never stop doing that. So I just got to be like, nope, I'll take it and I'll move on. Like same thing with shadows. I'm like, I can't. There's too many things. I'm just I
customize my fit for like every occasion. I'm just sort of like, I mean, I'm like, yeah, for this weather, I'm going.
Yeah, that's so you. And I have not changed my outfit in like, I don't know, 50 hours. Wearing the same stuff. Yeah.
So I did look at a video about like new builds and stuff. And you've been systematically plundering legendary boxes. So legendary chests. So you've got all the stuff.
I got everything at this point.
But I have like 4 builds for each character. Just for fun.
I gotta
keep it fresh.
You can edit this out, but I have a quick shadows thing that I want to run by you. We probably did it before or after, but you know, like when you do the meditation stuff with did you do the one where a guy tries to kill you in the middle of doing one?
Yes,
that was awesome. This happened to me today. I'm like, that's awesome. Like this thing, I'm like, what? Like literally, I was trying to do this before my wife is coming to pick me up. So I was like, I'll get through this quick, 30-second thing. And I'm like, now I'm gonna fight, but then I have to go back and finish the meditation. So like, she might have been waiting in the driveway for me for a few minutes longer than I was supposed to. Yeah. Anyway,
that's a strong wife right there. That's so funny. Yeah, I came up on that with SK, and so I kind of knew. They're like, you need to change. I was already actually hunting the guy that was sitting there.
Okay, yeah. So he wasn't showing up on my thing, so it was totally out of the blue and came up right behind me. It was awesome. Yeah, it was so great.
That's amazing. And you're like, what's happening? The game has a lot of surprises in it.
It is, yeah.
All right. Back to Star Wars. Why don't we cover this comic we have already front-selled and not talked about yet?
Yeah. Which is not a comment on its quality at all. Yeah, it's so we're gonna cover issues 1 through 5 of Kylo Ren: Legacy of Vader by Charles Soule, which is, Charles Soule is the writer on the Vader comic for a lot of years, and this is very much the legacy of Vader. His writing style, the drawing style, the use of flashbacks is all there. And if you ever wondered what happened immediately after The Last Jedi, this series will tell you. It's the thing I appreciate the most. It's like backfill city. Yeah,
in a really fun way about a really exciting time. A little side note. Charles Soule.
Yeah, I'm never going to do it, but it's Charles Soule.
I know. I knew a girl who had the last name Soule, and it was spelled the same way, and I can't. But I had to say it in the opening of the last podcast, and so I looked it up, and I was like,
nice. Good for doing your homework. It's like, it's always Mommin, and it's
Soul is in like Soul is in like
Soul.
Like,
I mean, it's easy.
Soul Train.
Yeah, that should be easy to remember. Never going to remember. I will truly try, Charles. I apologize for butchering your name. Yeah. Please come on our podcast. I apologize profusely. Yeah.
No, we're not slouches. We're just bad pronunciators.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah, no, this time
I couldn't say Rick, whatever his last name is, because I'm not even going to attempt it another time.
Yeah, Rick. He's Rick too. Now you're on first name basis.
Like him so much. First name. That's it.
BFFs. And maybe Chuck. You and Chuck are best friends. Or Chaz.
Oh, Chaz.
No, this time period's amazing. Because it's right after The Last Jedi. Right after.
Yeah.
So he's cut Snoke in half, and he lost the remnant of the Resistance at Crate, and he doesn't have a helmet, and he is suddenly thrust into the role of supreme leader, which he talked about this a lot. Actually, early days probably, because we're like, well, he's supreme leader now. So
like, what's he gonna do? Yeah. The answer is apparently not much when we get to Rise of Skywalker, but for here, it does a good job, and I just love and him and Hux, like that's some of my favorite stuff in this is like, because you watch that interaction, it's like, what Charles Soule is just sitting there like, I wonder what it was like after credits roll. The conversation between Kylo Ren and Hux is amazing. Yeah.
I loved it. So I mean, it starts off classic Star Destroyer. Actually, the look of it was a Death Star. It was like a Death Star hangar.
It did look like a Death Star hangar.
It copied the Death Star hangar shot from like Empire.
Yeah.
And but he's in there. He's got all the troops there, and he Snoke is carried in two sarcophagus.
I love that little note. Instead of like, don't put him in one coffin, split his two paths in two different sarcophagi. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's almost like, was he afraid to put him in one, or then it would be like an unwieldy large sarcophagus because he was a large being. Really weird.
It's very strange.
So, he he's like, hi everyone, force lifts Snoke out of his thing. It's true, Supreme Leader's dead. Throws him out the airlock, or out the landing.
Landing pad.
With the force
field.
We're killing the past. So we're picking up this killing the past thread from the sequel trilogy with Kylo.
Yeah. I have a very specific question about this. And I feel like this is like before recording last week, we were talking about 28 years later and had a very gruesome question. So I guess Adam just has the gruesome questions.
No, this is a place for it. This is
one of my favorites, the weird thing is one of my little detail things I love about The Last Jedi is when Snoke gets bisected, his arms, like the way the lightsaber comes through his arms off there. So in this thing, you watch him throw out the top half and bottom half of Snoke. There are no arms there. So where are Snoke's arms?
Probably on the desiccated husk that was the supremacy.
Yeah. Or is it in a third and fourth, even smaller box somewhere?
It's like nesting dolls.
Yeah. I was just thinking about that. Like, are they gonna, or is this like now? I feel like Star Wars story group was like, no, you can't do that because we need to figure out how we're gonna clone Snoke in the episode 10. He needs an arm.
That would be. I mean, this is like the biggest unsaid storyline ever. It's like Snoke actually made out of Luke's hand, and then what are Snoke's
hands made out? Yeah, exactly. It's just gonna be another clone of Luke. It's gonna go all the way back around again. It's gonna be Luke. Yeah.
Then but like 2 generations removed Luke.
Yeah, it's a copy of a copy. It's not going to be good.
Not going to be good for all of those people that used to own cassettes. Anyhoozle, but so we're burying the lead here. The fun part is, I love a good spirit quest. I love a good spirit quest. This is the story I've been dying for with Luke Skywalker. Mark Hamill commented this week about a storyline he wanted for Luke Skywalker. It's not that, so I'm not going to mention it. And
it's pretty wild. Look it up if you want to know.
I love a good vision quest. And so he decides to go to Mustafar, and that's where the first issue ends. And he goes to Vader's castle, which is also put Vader's castle in my veins. Charles Soule knows what the people want. He knows what the people want.
I know. Yeah. It's wild how much he can do that and know what works from every era. Because if you think about this, like, he is pulling together like multiple eras of Star Wars. And this so dovetails between the sequel and prequel era, which is like so distinct and yet works. He takes from everything, and it's amazing what he can do with that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and so he just, no, he didn't finish the Vader series, but the Vader series did play in both of those spaces a lot. That just wrapped up a lot in the prequel era and the sequel era. Yeah, which is wild for Vader. But anyway, so he, seamless transition to the Charles Soule story here. But it goes back to Mustafar. The castle's great, and then ultimately we find our guide. In the form of Vinay, who deep cut fans will know who Vinay is. He's in Rogue One in live action. And he's been in a bunch of comics. He's probably in the VR game that I didn't play, Invader's Castle, I assume.
I believe he's in there. Yeah, he's in a lot of the old, it wasn't Dark Horse, it was, who had it before? Was it IDW? No, I can't remember who had the license before Dark Horse, but it was in like Tales from Vader's Castle, right? Those like Halloween specials that he did. Yeah. He's also weirdly in a lot of the Lego stories.
Yes.
Like the Lego, he shows up a lot in the Lego stories.
A
lot of an A. Yeah.
With a like accent.
Yeah, over the second E? I don't remember, but yeah.
Second E, yeah.
Yeah.
And so he's a valet, right? He's a manservant for Vader.
Yes.
Helping him just do things, getting in and out of manage the castle for him.
Yeah.
So he can just be a badass.
Yeah. How's he looking now after about 40 years of being stuck in this castle? Let's talk about that for a minute.
Well, it depends if you're a fan of Beaumont monks or not.
Which I am, which we all know I am. It's one of my favorite things ever. Yeah.
And I know you are, so I know you. He is like almost. So Bomar monks are the spider creatures we see in Return of the Jedi, walking in the background of Luke Skywalker as he enters Jabba's palace. They live there. That's like their place. They're spider people who have destroyed their whole bodies except for their brains, put them in a jar, and their brain without any sensation or whatever, or just robotic sensation. I don't know. They're spiders now with brains in a fishbowl.
They are the original inhabitants / owners of Jabba's palace. They were there before Jabba took over, and they just still just wander around doing stuff, and Jabba just lets them wander. It's one of my favorite, like deep Star Wars things ever, because it's so strange. It's so weird.
Strange. And I would love a couple lines from Jabba about that. I can't believe we haven't gotten it. Just being like, no, they amuse me. It's like, that's it. He's just like he could easily kill them, and like, they're easy to kill.
Yeah, there's no reason not to.
No, I kind of like them. I like the je ne sais quoi they bring to the palace.
I mean, it makes sense. It's like, you watch Return, it's just such a weird place, and I'm sure he's just like, this just makes it weirder for people. It makes people more unsettled and uncomfortable, which makes me have more power.
I was like, I'm having so much spice right now. I think it's awesome. I kind of like. He's like, do you like the monks, man? I like the monks.
So beats Vinay, or whatever, and
he's a head, and he's not just a brain in a fishbowl. He's a head.
No, he's a head. Yeah,
it's very Futurama. I couldn't get
it is. Yep, it is very Futurama. It is also pretty horrific, because like it is a very, like, the head is very gaunt. It is clearly just like emaciated and desiccated, and just like it is, but still can do like. The facial expressions are pretty great. It's just always just fear.
Mostly just fear and coward. And he's like, let me put up my spider arms to protect my head globe. Whenever Kylo Ren throws a fit, which is like every 2 minutes.
Every 2 minutes. Yeah. He's a big man child.
Yeah. And the thing is he's self-aware. Like, he knows, like, there's a scene where he's just like, he's freaking out, and he's just like, stop being such a baby. Like, to himself. And and it's like, stop being such a baby, bro.
Which I appreciate from a person who's worked a lot of years on dealing with like anger issues, not total bad anger issues. I'm like, every so often you look at like, I had that flip out. Boy, was I acting like a big baby. Like, so I appreciate that, I mean, no, I think I'm working on a lot better than Kylo is, but like,
yeah, you're working on it. I mean, exactly. I guess this is Kylo working on it.
Weirdly,
that's what these first 5 issues could be. It's Kylo in his own way. And yeah. But anyway, so we have Vinay, and he's like, he convinces Kylo that he's gonna take him on this vision quest and teach him about the real Vader and like what Vader went through, because he was like essentially said what Luke Skywalker just told him, which is like, everything you just said is wrong. Like he was like, no, like Vader never killed his past. He used his past.
That was his fuel. Yeah. And, which the other thing that Soule did that I really appreciated was like, there's like a little throwaway line of exposition where Vinay's like, I just read all of Palpatine's, after they died, I read all of Palpatine's files, which I'm like, totally makes sense, because I'm like, Vader would have never told him any of this stuff, right? Like Vader wouldn't have shared, but I'm like, yes, he just accessed all. He was
dying to know it, just like us. Vinay is all of us, except
exactly,
a head in a spider body.
That's the only difference.
But that's the only difference. Otherwise, he's kind of all of us, and big Vader fan. So he's bringing him around.
First stop is Tatooine.
First stop's Tatooine, which is great. And so this actually brings me to the part that just popped into my mind that like I loved. And he's like, he was a slave, and like apparently he never knew his grandfather was a slave. Like,
no, he
was born into bondage, and it's like, this is, and they did a tight on Vader, and they showed the chain in his neck for his cape, but like I couldn't not look at the chain, because he was like, he's been in bondage his whole life.
I know. It was like, it's one of those brilliant things of, that was never what that was meant to be. That was never a thing. But Soule is such a good storyteller of just like, of course that's a thing now. Like, just this idea of like putting a chain around his neck, just reminding himself constantly that I was a slave. Like, this is where I was in bondage. Like, it's awesome. It's such a great little addition. I
mean, also it's like, I don't think Kylo really understands. Like, he's talking about like, oh, grandfather, you were so strong, you ruled the galaxy. It's like, no, I didn't.
No, he never did.
He was a whipped dog.
He was the attack dog. That's it. Yeah.
He was an abused dog for the emperor, and that was it. He didn't rule anything.
But isn't that like perfect storytelling in terms of like the idea of nostalgia and the misunderstanding of what the past was, and this idea of just like, I just, not get too much into it, but I was thinking of like, as a criminologist, people always talk about the good old days about like crime, and I'm like, do you understand? Like, literally, there's an article right now. The crime rate in this country has dropped precipitously over the past 3 years post-pandemic. Our crime rate is lower than it was in 1955. It is the safest this country's pretty much ever been since we were recording crime. But people think that the past was better, or a specific thing in the past. It drives me nuts. But it makes sense that Kylo would think that way, right? Like, anyway.
Yeah, it totally does.
Yeah.
But so like, probably my favorite sequence in this whole like arc is that, so Vinay's like, you've probably had a really rough childhood too. And they show a montage of him having the most beautiful childhood anyone's ever had with Han Solo and Leia, the two like just loving him to death. And then Chewbacca
riding like piggyback on Chewie's
shoulders like forever, like any kid would always want, like doing a little work on R2D2's, like helping him like do some work on him. He's even like, hanging out with Uncle Lando.
Lando. I want to correct. Not doing work on R2 and 3PO. He's painting them and dressing them up as like playthings, as like, these are my like friends that will play with him. I was just zooming in on, like, literally he has like a paintbrush and he's painting swirls and like art, and C3PO is wearing like a hat. Like, clearly he's doing like make believe with these two droids. Like, it is the most idyllic childhood anyone's ever had. And he's just like, of course I did, was his response after that entire like
which is like, this is not the story I would pick for the grandson of Vader. I mean, because it's so cringy, and because he's just, I don't know, he could have been like this really cool character the whole time. You're just like, bro, you could have been the coolest of all people all time if you had just like stayed in the light instead of being a petulant little teenage jerk.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he just went the other way and leaned so into just being terrible.
Yeah, and it's so weird because I empathize a little bit at the beginning with this idea of like the weight of having the three biggest heroes of your parents.
Yeah.
And you would think you would just reject that and be like a no one or a nobody, but then to like swing over and be like, no, I'm not going to do what you did. I'm going to do what my granddad did. I'm like, you're still just doing the same thing. You're still living under someone's shadow. It's so sad and pathetic. Like it really is.
But I think we all go through that.
Oh yeah.
At a certain point, and especially that age. But he never learned.
Never got out of it.
I guess he did finally learn at the end, and he was only in his 20s or 30s or whatever. So
yeah. And he had like 5 minutes of realization, and then he died. Sorry,
and then he died because life's hard. But yeah. Anyways, so that's what this is going to be. Essentially, like every issue is a new planet.
Yeah.
So he hits Tatooine first, learns a lot there, and then goes to Naboo.
Yep.
I believe, which is bonkers. And yeah, I mean, he's making no sense. And the Naboo plot line is like, this is where I think he went a little Gilroy and tried to go like, okay, he's gonna stoke a rebellion against that was weird order. And I'm like, to what end?
Yeah, I don't know. Like he was like, so his rationale is that Naboo is stuck in its past because it's focused on the leaders of decades past. And so his idea is that if I break them out of it, it's his way of helping Naboo, quote unquote, destroy the past. Right.
Okay, yeah.
And so he was
more heuristic way to, or
yeah, like it seems like I can't do it for myself, so I'm gonna do it for these people. It's odd. It was hard to follow the rationale necessarily, but it was interesting. It was interesting to see him as like a folk hero for this. Yeah.
And then he just kills everybody.
And he kills everyone. Yeah.
Yeah. And you're like, okay. And he goes back because I think they were like going to destroy the city and it wasn't going to do much. And he's just like lashing out like a child. Like he's got so much power and he's got no direction. And I think this is what Vinay is trying to coach him through. He's like, Vader's love for his wife that he killed, which he admitted that part, was like what fueled everything for him. And then and it was like a single-minded like response. And then when he found out he has kids, suddenly that took over, and that was like his one thing.
Yeah.
And he's like, you needed some sort of guiding light to give you like a mission. And you see some flashes to Rey because he's always she's never far from his thoughts.
Yeah, he's fixated for sure. Yeah.
The thing is it's like he doesn't know if he wants to kill her or marry her.
Right. Yeah. Right. No, it's very, very true. It's interesting. I feel like only Soule could tell this story because it is what he has to do is eventually get to the point of why he reforges the helmet and he puts the helmet back on in some ways, and why Vader's helmet is back in his collection in episode 9. And so I think this book's doing an interesting thing of him, like the supposition is that he had no idea of who his grandfather really was. He just knew his grandfather through the actions that he had, the historical impact his grandfather had. Yeah. And now in this, he's learning about the reality of who Anakin Skywalker and Darth Vader was. And that by the end of the series, I'm guessing he's going to find some type of like deeper connection to Vader, right? He's going to find something in common.
Well, at the very
interesting.
At the very least, he's getting all this information about him, which he didn't know. And, and he is actually learning things as he's going through this. So,
I mean, it's ton. It feels like he didn't even know that he was married, didn't even know about Padme, any of this stuff. It seemed interesting, right? Like that all seemed to come as a surprise. But yeah, in terms of like overarching plot, that's kind of it, right? Like just goes through these vision quests, like, and now it seems like he's gotten to the end of like somewhat of Vader's story, and now it's just like, I need to find someone I can kill. Like, right? Yeah. Like that seems to be the ending of this arc, is now like, now find me someone I can fight, basically. Yeah. Someone who's a challenge, which interesting. I have no idea.
Yeah. I think they said where they're going next.
Yeah. Did they? I think
and now I forget it. I want to say it's Coruscant, maybe.
No, I think it's because I think I read something. I think they're going to Corellia. Yeah.
Corellia, yeah.
Corellia,
Because this is actually a pretty good idea from Hux, which is like, if we've got the power to take over a world and we need more ships, let's take over Corellia.
Really, yeah. Which good on Hux. Not supporting. Hux is actually pretty on it when you read the series in terms of like having good ideas. Oh, the best line of this thing is when Hux is talking about family to Kylo, and Kylo's like, you come from something like you come from of lieutenants and lickspittles, and I'm like, oh, that's such a good burn, like on both ends, like that's so great, just like
because
lieutenant.
It is true. They are multi-generational. I mean, Armitage Hux's father was pivotal in Operation Cinder and the creation of the First Order, and
but don't get that big. They're not up there. They're kind of up there, but they're not. Leading necessarily. They're just kind of somewhat.
They're still a rogue military, which is again such a weird classification for like this galactic threat. And the funny thing is, I couldn't help feeling is like they're like, well, we've got a couple of ships, but we don't have that planet anymore, and we've got some other stuff, but it's like we just don't really have a lot of things. And he's like, do we have a planet killer? Ren's like, do we have a planet killer? He's like, no. And all I can think of is the Final Order. It's just like, I mean, this little like group to like soften up the galaxy for the Final Order. Yeah. And like get them used to reign or just like cause chaos, which is like another fascist playbook.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is the thing where it all starts to fall apart, right? Because because if the Final Order had how many Star Destroyers with Death Star technology on them, they could have risen up at any time, any moment, and taken over the entire galaxy.
If once they let them out. I think though, that whole plan hinged on the return of Palpatine. Yeah, and that's what they were waiting for, because they needed to have their leader at the head.
They needed to have Palpatine as well as a body for Palpatine to get into a more permanent body. So I guess that's Rey. I guess the kind of the rise of Rey was what kind of initiated Palpatine saying, okay, now I can come out of hiding and we can do all this. Yeah.
Because it does feel like Palpatine draws that much water, which is really impressive to think of the scale of Sith, like as far as power scaling. Like if we ever see another Sith, they need to be this good.
And Rise of Skywalker is a weird movie,
but like I mean, he had a whole cult following him, so they were like, as soon as our Messiah returns, we will unleash this war machine we've been creating for decades, with this technology that's been honed over decades as well, right? And they were building this while they were building the second Death Star. So it's like,
wild to think about.
And it was probably the the Galen Erso stuff that allowed them to finally break through to have those planet killers on the bottom of all their Star Destroyers.
Yeah.
So, he's probably waiting for that because they had the Kyber crystal, but they didn't have the power.
All the power. Yeah.
It's the whole mechanics of it going on there.
It's kind of wild that both episode 8 and 9 somewhat hinge on Death Star technology, right? Because in episode 8 they're like, would they have to open up the thing, that mini Death Star technology? I can't remember the phraseology about the battering ram is like, they use the term of like, and they bring it back again in episode 9. Which is very Star Wars, right? You have two Death Stars in Star Wars, the original, but it's just funny.
It's very Hollywood that each director was like, well, I need to have my own Death Star, except for Trevorrow. I don't think he had his own Trevorrow.
No, Trevorrow
went dark side instead.
Yeah, totally. Which
is where I would have gone as well. It's like, oh no, secret,
on it.
Sith leader, Sith you didn't know about. I love that. I like it kind of being a bottomless well, nesting dolls again of like, you think this is the Sith master, but that's the Sith master. Like I could do that forever. I love that.
Same. Which they just don't want to play around with. They just don't want to touch that for whatever reason. It's just like, same thing with the High Republic, which we talked about last week. Not that I love how it ended, but I'm like, if you're going to extend these stories, like you need to connect us a little bit on with some Sith. Like what's the Sith doing right now? Just a chapter of like, this is what the Sith are doing right now.
I know. Grant said this a million times, so I'll paraphrase it here in the spirit of him, but like, it's just like, I mean, Star Wars is Vader. Like when you think of Star Wars, you think of Darth Vader's mask and helmet, and it's like,
yeah,
so create another Vader, like just you already created this ecosystem for the Sith. Just like tell stories about them. Like, what are they doing? What's going on?
Right.
And like, they don't even need to be in direct conflict with the main characters. They can be living their own lives and doing, granted, it's always got to be terrible stuff, but like, I don't know, like even the minutia, the banality of their lives, I think I'd be into.
Yeah.
We got Chimere and he was like amazing. I was actually just thinking the other day, and we'll talk about this next week when we cover the Wayseeker book, but
yeah,
he learned from Vernestra Rowe.
Yes.
Like Vernestra Rowe is like one of the toughest Jedi of all time. Like, like power rankings, she's above Obi-Wan.
There.
She's above, like, the only person I think that could match her is probably like Yoda or Anakin, like as far as like actual like power scaling, how strong they are. And and like that makes sense why Chimere came off that way. He was a force of it was like a force of will. It was like a force of
no, 100%. It's force of nature. There you go. And I think it's one of those things where just like, there's a lot of things that I'm sad about with the Acolyte probably not continuing, but one of the big ones is like losing out on a lot more of Vernestra Rowe and a larger group of people learning about how much of a badass she is, right, and how powerful she is. Because I feel like we just need these stories about other Jedi than just the three that we know, right? That are powerful, and more Sith stories that are out there. Like these are tales of the ages, these two forces fighting each other. Like it should be just self-writing in some ways. It's wild.
Who wrote the first story? Was it Justina Ireland, I think, wrote the first Vernestra Rowe story?
I believe so. Yeah, that sounds right.
It was like a younger reader.
Mm-hmm. It was the young, not the like the, it was like the young adult is what I think they refer to it as.
Yeah, young adult. And Imri Kantaros and like, and you Vernestra, and you're already like, she's already messing around with the design for a light whip, and you're like, okay.
Yeah.
Like she's like 14, and I think she gets knighted because Stellan Gios is like, girl, you're there.
Yeah.
Like,
I think
I'm not going to teach you anything. Just go be a Jedi. You're great.
I know they refer to as one of the youngest. I can't remember if they refer to as the youngest, but she's but she's there. Like she is so young. She gets knighted. And I
think she might have been the youngest.
The youngest. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if there was that.
He was like 14.
Superlative. Yeah.
And like took a Padawan like a year later, which is like her buddy, her like colleague. And then like was mature enough through the High Republic to be like, at the moment he was like, you know what? Like she brought him his lightsaber or found his lightsaber, and he's like, I don't need that. I don't want that. And she's like, you know what? You're a Jedi. Boop, boop.
Yeah.
You're
I know.
She takes him right there, and she's like, you did it. You're fine. You're good.
She had some like minor growing pains, but not any of these like giant, crises of conscience or whatever that other people went through. She seemed always very settled in who she was, which is kind of amazing.
And I've way blown out of proportion how much I love this book, but I love this book. I'm sure I'm going to finish it on the beach on 4th of July, but like, Wayseeker is dope. The way they write like Vernestra is dope.
I'm very excited. I have not started it yet, but we have a beach day tomorrow as well. So I think I'm going to definitely start reading it there. I'm very looking forward to it. Yeah.
I'm jealous for you. And I mean, maybe it's just like that thing, that's hitting me at the exact right time. I won't apologize for it. I'm loving it, but hopefully you'll love it too, because I think it's.
I'm sure I will. I just love starting a new Star Wars book. I just, for some reason, that's one of my favorite things to do. I mean, like shows are great too, but I just love this. Like, just know, no one's paying attention to this area, so it's just like they can do some fun stuff in there.
Yeah.
I want to talk about two things before. I mean, we don't have to end, but I just want to make sure I get two things in.
Yeah.
One about the comic series. One of my favorite things is that. So like Hux is like coming up with this like game plan of like, we should do this and we should do this. And if you read it, it's like, yes, that is brilliant.
Yeah.
Like you want to take over the galaxy, listen to Hux. He's actually got it down. Like these are the things we should do. And then Kyle's like, nah, build me a throne. And like the side, like we still haven't gotten to it, but like the side plot of just Kylo of Hux having to build a throne, and Kylo's just basically like, no, you decide, but make sure it's perfect on the first try.
Yeah.
Just how much Hux is just like, I just imagine him just cowering, just thinking about how to make this thing for Kylo, and I just want to know what it looks like.
One frame, and it was like after he left, and it's him like doing like a primal scream on the inside.
Yeah,
right after he was given that, because I obviously it's like, I'm gonna give you some trivial thing just to put you in your place.
Yeah,
and and poor Hux, man. But Hux gets the last laugh.
Yeah, he does. It also totally explains, not explains, you kind of understood it anyway in episode 9, but the fact that he's just like, I don't want you to win. I just don't want him to, like, I don't want you to, I can't remember the exact phrasing.
If I lose, I just don't want him
to win. Yeah, which like you totally understand by the end of this. Of course he does. Like, he's just petty at this point. I'm just like, I do not want this man to win. I don't even care at this point.
Yeah, it's a weird comic duo on the like.
It is. Yeah,
on the antagonist side, and for that whole series.
Yeah, I will say, I mean, we're not going to go, we don't have to break down and reanalyze episode 9, but I remember in the theater, I did like the Hux turn because it felt very real to me of how petty that man is. The first two, like, of course he would sell out the entirety of the First Order just because he hates Kylo. Like, I just love that. Then the other thing I want to talk about is we kind of skimmed over Tatooine, the end of Tatooine, where he's captured by Gardula the Hutt.
Oh yeah,
and that whole thing is amazing. It's like a Ben-Hur moment. Everyone should read it. But there's this weird force-sensitive creature
that works for Gardula.
Yeah,
it's like a pile of marshmallows with arms and a giant head and nothing else.
Two big eyes, like two big black eyes, and just like, and it's like holding, like, just overpowers Kylo. Like, just overpowers him. Takes his lightsaber. I love Gardula's like, after what happened to like Jabba, do you think I wouldn't have like something to protect me?
Yeah.
And it's just,
but it's like, where did he find that creature? And also the line, which I thought you were going to say, was like, he's like, you are weak in the Force.
Yes. Right. Yes. The little thing, not even little, it's big, but the thing says, yeah. Wild. I just love this, and we're never going to see this thing again. We're never going to hear about it again. This is what I love in Star Wars: is just do this and move away, never answer any questions, never do anything. I was like Wikipedia in it; it's just referred to as a unidentified force-sensitive individual. That's all we get. That's all its title is. It's not of nothing. Like, we don't know its affiliation with Hutt clan. Like, I just love this. It's going to have one paragraph on Wikipedia forever, and this is great.
Yeah, like, we don't know. Charles Soule made it. It's cool.
Yep.
Yeah. This actually got me thinking. It was like, again, from this book that I'm reading, but it's like, there's like, at any given time, there's 10,000 Jedi in the galaxy, during the height of the High Republic, and leading into whatever, the fall. But there had to be at least that many Force sensitives that weren't found by the Jedi.
Right. Yeah.
And they're just out there. And they're just doing whatever, and they're self-taught. And it's like, I know they have that strict rule about like, if you're too old to become a Jedi. And like, I respect that, because like being a Jedi is like a very specific dogma, like, ideology to ascribe to. And if like you're going to be a guidance for peace and justice in the galaxy, you need to be indoctrinated, and you need to, this is your whole life is protection and helping people, and you need to be trained from infancy to do it. And I get that, but it's like, isn't it dangerous to just be like, okay, but you're 3 years old and that's a little late. So good luck. And it's like, so then with all the fallacy of human or whatever sentient species, like, you're just going to let them be strong in the Force and do whatever they want.
It's wild. It welcomes the Sith in, wouldn't you say? Right. Like, you're a Sith, you would just be
Sith in a minute. Yeah. If it was like, oh, I was passed over the Jedi, that would have been cool. But it was like, what else is out there? And then you're just like, well, I can rob and steal. I can do mind tricks. I can, like, I mean, maybe you don't know those things exist, so you don't try them. And it seems to be like, if you don't use the Force, it kind of fades away.
It needs to be what they're suggesting. And if we go into,
I had the Force, if I moved a bottle cap an inch,
you do it every single day. Practice it. I honestly, but it seems to be what they suggest. Like in the Chiss, they have the Force sensitives and the Chiss seem to use it for navigation skills, and they talk about how after like age 13 they don't tend to continue having that ability. So it seems to be suggesting. But like, if I was a Sith, what I would do is keep an eye out for every single Force sensitive that was too old, approach them and be like, hey, I know that happened. We're actually part of the Jedi Order, and we sorry we passed you up. We are now willing to have you be part of the Jedi Order. Please come with us and run a fake Jedi Academy that indoctrinate them slowly to become Sith. That's what I would do if I was a Sith. And then you have an army eventually of people who bought into your ideology completely.
We're the Jedi, but you're like, then why are we going to Coruscant? It's like, oh no, we're going to take you to this temple.
We form this other. It just writes itself. It's real easy to do that, and like it just, I never got that. Like I get it.
Be the Rick Famuyiwa series right there,
right? Like I understand that rationality of a little bit from their perspective. I understand it, but it just seems silly, and it's one of the things that in the old EU, and part of it was in the old EU, the post Return of the Jedi stories started prior to the prequels. So this rule of Jedi have to be a certain age before they get trained was not part of the storytelling.
Yeah,
and so they had to, like, once the prequels started, they had to kind of like fix it in post, just being like, yeah, but Luke thought this was an old way. And I'm like, I really hope in Rey's Jedi Academy that age is not a thing, that she will welcome in people, because like it just, I don't know, it's so weird to me that like what would happen. Go ahead. I'm just like stammering, but I was just gonna say, like, what would happen? What would happen if like Yoda or Obi-Wan believe that, or like Luke was just like, nah, you're too old, we're not going to train you now, like everything we ever learned is just like, that's not a thing. Like it's just so silly. Like because it almost suggests, so here's what I'm bumping up against. It almost suggests that the Jedi cannot trust in a person's moral core unless they were the ones to shape and form that moral core. Like I understand, like, just like I was gonna say policing, that's not really a thing, but a lot of other high stress jobs, you have to take a personality test, you have to go through psychological analysis to determine if you're right. There is like, yes, maybe if you get a 25-year-old who's strong in the Force, you don't just welcome in and be like, yeah, we're gonna do all this stuff. Maybe like put him through training, put him through analysis, see if he's there or if they're there, and how, it just seems so silly to me.
At 25 I would have failed. At 45 I would have done okay.
Yeah, right. Which, that's the thing too, is like, you just fail them out. You maybe put them through some classes, talk through things before you start training this, right? I don't know. It's just so weird to me.
I mean, there's also B teams and stuff too, where it's like, you've got the Force, you can heal, you can do this. It's like, a lot of people fall out of the Jedi and get relegated to like, farming and healing and, other posts, like administrative posts essentially. And, like, I feel like that's a nesting ground for like where you can just be like, well, you can do this other thing. And it's sort of like, it's Jedi light. And you can, if you want to help the galaxy, we'll help you help the galaxy. But set them on the right path, and then you can sort of give them good, good compatriots to make good choices. Yeah,
no, I agreed. It's one of those things that we're about 50 years into this thing, which is wild to think about, right? Like in 2 years, it's gonna be 50th anniversary. And I still feel like we know almost nothing about the Jedi and what the actual Jedi Order is. And I'm like, I don't know if that's a bad thing. Like, part of me is like, don't over explain it, but it's just kind of wild. That's still
I mean, it's a real triumph that they've been able to maintain that. And I think it's great. We talked about it last week, where it was just like, when you get inside the heads of all these different Jedi, they all have a different depiction of what being a Jedi means, and the guardrails and what it is. And they all follow their own sort of prescription. It's all good, but it's like, I don't know, they get a little wishy-washy in certain rules, but they follow the guidelines of the Jedi Order. They interpret them the way they interpret them, and they behave justly, and so that's great. And then we don't know the nature of the Force or why or what, and I think that's good too.
Agreed.
And it's funny. It's just like, it's a mystery that we keep getting clues about, but we never get the answer.
No, and
there is no answer.
There's none. Just why it works, right? Why it's still a thing 50 years later. And the thing I'm thinking about is kind of reflecting on last week's High Republic is, I think the legacy of the High Republic that going forward, maybe even 5-10 years from now, is how much that series did for establishing what the Jedi are in the new EU. Like it is the deepest analysis of Jedi we've had in anything with that many Jedi characters, that many discussions, that many internal monologues. It's kind of wild. And like, again, not to repeat myself from last week, but I will. I think the thing I appreciate the most is that series did such a good job of explaining to me why you need a Jedi Council. Like that explained. Like once I got, I'm like, totally get it. Everyone's a different connection to the Force. It's not this monolith of just understanding that you need an arbitrative body to understand. I just love that series.
I think that you really struck the chord there. I mean, I think that's probably the hardest thing for that group to write. And if we ever get one of those authors, I want to ask them that question just about like, how daunting was it to write
so
5
pressure? Yeah. When in like reality, we've had like 4 that we've spent a lot of time with, if you think about it, right?
Before the High Republic, it was like,
you got
Yoda, Anakin,
Obi-Wan, Luke, Ahsoka. I guess, you had Ahsoka in there. So you get like, but it's like well under 10, and they've introduced like 50 new, like maybe not 50, but like 25 characters that
I'm going to do some math. I'm going to check that out.
Yeah.
Because I feel like 50 is a reasonable number.
Yeah.
How many
probably actually. Yeah.
Right on.
Cool.
You said there was another thing you wanted to talk about.
No, the second thing was that weird little Gardula, the weird little Force user with Gardula. Those are the 2 big things I wanted to talk about. Yeah, the Gardula, and then Hux having to create a throne, which I'm so fascinated by. Yeah,
I want to see that throne.
Yeah, me too. I cannot wait. Oh, the other thing that I think is interesting is how much weight was put into previews about the first issue or second issue of Legacy of Vader about the ultimate fate of Watto, and then we learn in the middle of the series like, nope, didn't actually happen. It was just a fantasy moment of like, nope, he never actually killed Watto. He never came back and did that. I was like, no,
I didn't even think about him.
Yeah.
So we got his fate, which was he died of old age, probably poor.
Probably, yeah. Which I love that. Yeah,
maybe some disease that he caught in some filthy brothel somewhere.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know what Watto gets up to, but maybe he just like had a bad. I don't know.
One day will someone write the story about Watto and Jar Jar and all those other characters that have been left behind.
I know. I saw like there was a Gungan panel in there.
Yep.
And I was like, how long do Gungans live?
Right? Like I did the same thing. I zoomed in to be like, could any of those be Jar Jar? But I don't know.
Yeah. I'll tell you, for the book, there's a lot of characters that live longer than humans and deal with them. And it's like, I love that sort of suddenly your whole perspective changes on life and
what
you do. And then, to write 190-year-old character, it's sort of like, well, you're learning that whole time. So who are you at 190? Who's at 190? Yeah.
That's the thing that always blows me away about Yoda. It's just like the 900 years, and like of those 900 years, he spent 2.5 with Luke. And I know he's really important, but it's also like, I don't know. I've seen like so many of you come and go, and some of you saved the galaxy, some of you ruined it, some of you were just whatever. It'll be fine. It's all cyclical.
Yeah, I know. With that amount of perspective, where do you go? That's a really good point. And again, we talk like Yaddle. There's Yaddle in this book too, and it's nice. Like she was like, you have no idea how long I was a Padawan. So it's like we see Grogu, and it's like, would he still be a youngling at this point at 50 years old?
Right?
What would they be? What would he be there?
Yeah.
He can't talk yet, so it's like even younglings can talk.
And what's that like for him, right? You imagine just being in I'm sorry, you're in the first grade for 13 years, watching all these other kids like come through. Like I can't. It's so strange when you deal with this, and it's such a good.
Yeah. I mean, if you use like a base humanoid system, he kind of his own. But so it's like, so you become a Padawan as a teenager, but you're a teenager for 200 years. Like,
yeah. Yeah.
Like, what is it really like? What's a maturity scale like? And is it, Grant deals with this all the time because he's not here, so I can say it. He has a Yoda script. That's amazing.
It is.
But he's, he's struggling with it. It's like this logarithmic aging, and you're like, all right, well, what's the cutoff? And it really affects sort of what he's trying to write. But
he doesn't need heroes, but there's always a workaround, and your workaround is that Yoda is special.
Yeah.
And you're done because Yoda is special. Yoda is very special. Yeah.
Yeah. So this has been really fun.
Totally.
I feel like we should cut it here.
Yeah.
So next week, the plan is to cover Wayseeker.
Wayseeker. Yep.
I don't think you or Grant has started yet, so I'm hoping that comes to fruition.
Oh yeah, I'll get through it for sure. Yeah.
We can do a late record date and to give us some more time.
I mean, we're doing an early record date this week, so we're probably good. Yeah.
Right. People that have listened to us for a long time know we used to be Core World News when we were still employed by a registered news network. Now we're just pirate radio.
Yep.
Recording from various cantinas around the galaxy. But as Cantina Chronicles, since we've been unemployed, this is episode 98. Next week will be episode 99. And then for 100, just so it's easy to remember, I think we were going to do a Pillars episode.
Yeah.
And a little Pillars review. We'll cover all our Pillars. This is just sort of like the basics of like what you need to, if you're a new story writer, like what are the real like essential elements to writing a Star Wars story, and what makes Star Wars Star Wars. So
yeah, I'm excited to reintroduce that. We had a lot of fun building it out, and I think kind of going through it again and talking about it will be helpful.
We'll have to do a little more. I'm going to have to do a little more research on that. I'll send it around like our Pillars and put them again, because like things change over time, and maybe there'll be new ones, maybe there'll be less of the old ones, and we'll see.
There's also been so much more Star Wars since we created those, right? So many more series and other stuff that we have to think about, like what has lived up, what hasn't. Are there other things that we missed? Yeah, it's gonna be fun. I'm excited.
Yeah, and we'll do them all in one, so it's like one reference point if you want to hear about them. Because we did one at a time as Core World News, and they're all over the place. And I don't know, they're good. They're good meditations on it, but I think we could do it quickly. And
I think so. Yeah, that'd be good.
That'll be episode 100.
If we ever do a Patreon, we'll collect those episodes together in a bundle for people to listen to.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, thanks very much for listening to us. This has been a blast, Adam. Great time hanging out, man.
Good time.
At the Cantina, Sagrona
Tina.
And we'll talk to you all next week with Grant back. And, have an awesome week. May the Force be with you. And, we'll talk to you then on Cantina Chronicles.